Hello everybody, my name is Jimmy and welcome back to Jimmy Does Knitting. This is my knitting podcast where I pick a topic and we go from there. Today, we are talking about 3 bottom-up sweaters that I am knitting. I thought that would be a good theme. Before we start that, you can check me out as Jimmy Does Knitting on Instagram, Ravelry, where I also have designs for sale, and Ko-Fi, and here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Usually I do an update with the yarn stash. I haven't bought anything in in February or March yet, and I haven't finished anything since the last podcast, so I'm not going to give you an update. I will tell you what I'm wearing though. I am wearing the mini season sweater by Ozetta. It is like her, I think there's just a regular season sweater that's a raglan, but this is a drop shoulder. It's all over half fisherman's rib, and I chose it specifically because this collar, you see this collar detail? I really like it, and I really like the rhythm of half fisherman's rib. This is a child sweater, but I know my gauge is loose, and the top size I think had like a 42-inch circumference for the chest, so I knew it would fit me. Didn't gauge swatch. Had a bunch of Cascade 220 in my stash, and I did that. If you want to see me fix this because it was too long, you can watch my Finish It February video. And I think that's all the admin. I'm going to try to do this fast. It's been a busy week, but I'm trying to get a little bit of time on my lunch hour to do this. So let's go through it. We are going to talk about my Guernsey, the Metaphysics, and then the Prada Sweater recreation. That's the order. That's the plan. Let's get into it. So, one of my longer standing whips is in this bag. I just use tote bags. I'm not a big project bag person. So I am making a fisherman's sweater, Vissers Trui, a Guernsey, whatever you want to call it. Last year I did a whole video about my process that I was doing for my brother-in-law where I made him one for Christmas. And in that, I over-ordered yarn, and I had enough for another sweater's quantity of Guernsey wool. So I have this, which is Woolyknit 5-ply British Guernsey wool in navy, and that's what I'm using for mine. It's sort of the traditional color. It's all good. I am making this design up as I go. I really thought about the math and stuff, so it's not like a totally ad hoc, but it's kind of an ad hoc sort of thing. And let me show you the inspiration, because I don't think I showed this before. There's this book that I bought. It's in Dutch. It's like Fisherman's Sweaters Collected. There are, I think this is a combination of 2 or 3 books by, who is this by? Stella Rua. And this is the Dutch version. I just grabbed it at a knitting show. I didn't realize it was in Dutch, but it's whatever. I can read it, so it's fine. So there are a couple in these collections. These are Dutch specific ones, and if you go through, it just tells you like different ones from the Netherlands. So like all of these ones that are marked have a pattern in here, and it has examples and charts, and it talks a little bit about different aspects. I don't think it gives you a full pattern specifically, but whatever. Anyway, what I wanted to do was I wanted like a cable and then a ladder stitch, and then a cable and then a ladder stitch, and a cable and a ladder stitch, and I'll show you what a ladder stitch is later. But I was sort of swatching over and over and over again, couldn't decide. And then I saw this beauty. Can you see this? And I was like, oh, that's the cable I'm using. This is a sweater that was recreated from one found in Bunschoten, Spakenburg. Fun name. But, I mean, the cables were beautiful, and I knew that I had to do this. I knew that I wanted it to be full and linear and no horizontal things like a lot of Guernseys have. And, yeah, I just kind of, like, went for it. So I did some math, and I cast on 284 stitches. I did 2.5 inches of 1x1 rib, and then I started going into the pattern. So the pattern is, like I said, the ladder stitch, and then the cabling, and it's lovely. This is like fabric. This is really like I would say this yarn is like a thick fingering because it's 5-ply instead of a 4-ply, but it's a tight twist, and because of the amount of stitches, I'm knitting this on a 3mm needle. So it's really tight, which hurts my hand a little bit, but it's really giving like a dense and beautiful fabric. This will block out some. And I'm so into this. I'm trying to get this done before the weather turns, but I also live in the Netherlands, so I think that I'll be able to use this for a while. Now, I don't typically knit fingering weight sweaters because I don't enjoy wearing them. I find them too thin, but with the cables, with the tight gauge of this, and everything like that, I really am going to enjoy this. I can tell you right now, this is going to be like thick and warm and like wonderful, and I wanted my own Guernsey for a while, so here we are. Now, what have I done since I've seen you last? Last time I saw you, I was at this marker, the blue marker, and then I split for sleeves, so you can see that I have done some little sleeve splitting. And I am probably close to the point where I need to split for the collar up front. Have I done the math for it? Not yet, but we'll get there. And then I'll put it on hold because I want to do a 3-needle bind off in the shoulders. I decided against the saddle, pick up for the back, and go up from there. So that is what I'm doing. Everything is like a rhythm of 2, 4, 8. And it really is like, it's just beautiful, and I love the math on this and like how it works with the rhythm and the width and stuff. I was scared that this was going to be too tight, but I tried it on after I separated for sleeves. I think it will be fine. I think it will be a good size. Now, let's talk about gussets, and I want to be technical about this, actually, and we'll talk about counting cables, because I think that that's important. So this is more technical stuff. I have chapters. If you don't want the more technical stuff and you want to see some easier knits, skip ahead. But gussets. So a gusset essentially is like a triangle of fabric. I think you can see it over here a little bit better. But like a triangle of fabric to, you usually have them in underwear to make things a little bit more movable. And what that was traditionally in the Guernsey was, if the fabric was like this, and you see how my armpit is quite loose, if you were wearing this as a fisherman and it got tangled in nets and it grabbed your armpit and you got dragged down with the net, you would die. So that was bad. And the solution was gussets. So everything is fitting well, and then you still have the mobility of your arms because you're going to have to dragging nets and stuff like that. That is the idea of the gusset in this particular type of sweater. So what I did for it, and I've read a bunch of stuff. There's no specific way to do it, but this is how I do it. I probably could have done it a little differently. But my measurements are, I like a 16-inch from cuff to like armpit, and then 10 inches from armpit to top of the shoulder. That's my preference. So I did a gusset starting at the 16-inch mark because I knit bottom up. And then I am going to, I did the gusset shaping, then I split, and then I'm going to finish the yoke. So the yoke depth technically is more shallow because the gusset allows for more room. You're supposed to do roughly 2 to 5 inches of a gusset, and I ended up, because of the pattern, because I wanted the increases to be at a certain rate along with every time that I do stitches a certain way, I did about 2 inches. So what I based that on is each cable, okay, so these cables on like the very side, these tiny ones are 1x1 cables, those are done every other row. These cables are done every 4th row, and then these ladder with the purl bump is done every 8th row. So what I wanted to do is everything that I needed to do, like in terms of increasing and stuff, on the same round. So I increased every 4th row 5 times. So I did like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. And on the 5th row, I also added another increase, so I have a selvage stitch for, well, this. So I have the selvage stitch and everything goes fine. And I incorporated the 1x1 cables into the underarm gusset, and then those will go onto the underarm and go down, much like I did with this. It's harder to see. But here I have a 2 purl stitch seam with 1x1 cables on either side. So I'm going to continue that onto the underarm, and that is how I did it. Now, most gussets are usually knit stitches. I did mine in purl because I thought that it looked better with what I was trying to achieve. You can do whatever you want. Also, by incorporating the 1x1 cables into the gusset and not carrying it up, what it does is a little bit, not much because it wasn't many stitches and I have a tight gauge, is it makes it go in a little bit and then up, which will suit my shoulders better. One thing that I wanted to keep in mind while I was doing this is the cabling. I wanted it purposely, so these cables are on the edge of the shoulder. I think a lot of times cables end like here-ish, and then there's what we call a filler pattern, and so that's very historically accurate. It's usually some sort of moss stitch where you can just like add some moss stitch to get the number of stitches you need for the width that you want. So usually there's like famous, whatever. There's fancy stuff, and then there's some like moss stitch on the side, and then the moss stitch kind of carries up and goes over. I didn't want that. I wanted it to end on a cable for the shoulder. Even if it's a drop shoulder, which this will be, I still wanted it to be a cable. So I did math so that was possible, and then I removed all of those stitches under the gusset. When I was working the gussets, I think the last round, I had over 300 stitches on the needle, and I am very thankful to be, I don't know, less. So this is still a lot of stitches at a tight gauge, and this is taking a while. I think I can do like 2 or 3 stripes a night, 2 or 3 full repeats a night. So it's still not going tremendously fast, but it feels a little bit better, and we're at a different spot. So that was a lot of information, but I think that that's what's happening. I don't know. Anyway, that's clear about what I'm doing. Collar's going to be next, the front collar. Then I'll put it on hold, do the back collar, 3 needle bind off. Then I'll do sleeves top down, keeping the gusset shaping, and then I'll have the 1x1 cable that goes all the way to the sleeve with the 2 purl stitch like seam. Right? So that is what I'm doing. I'm hoping this isn't going to grow a tremendous amount like lengthwise when I block it. I'm going to try to block it out a little bit, but overall, I mean, you should feel this. This is just like a sweater, and it's durable, and I really think it's beautiful. I'll look good in it. So I'm very happy about that. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is I didn't write a pattern down for this. I didn't write a chart down for this. I'm like going off of, I get to a point where I know I need to do something, and then I just do it. So counting cables is a skill that I need to master. So let me get some DPNs, and I'll show you a really quick trick. I have this wood DPN. I'm hoping that I can show this correctly on camera. But what I've been doing is having to count the stitches in between the cables to understand how many rounds that I've done. So if we can look at this, can you see this? So there's 1 cable here, 1 cable here. And if you go behind, boom, like that, yes, you can see that. You can see that these are the stitches in between the 2 cables. And how I'm counting my rows with this without having to do like a row tracker is the first bottom strand is the one that I used to like knit the cable rows. And then the strand above is like the round. So in this case, I've done 1 round of cables and then a round back on the wrong side row. And what I do is, because I have to cable every 4th row, is once I have 4 of these little like nups in between the stitches, I know that I have to do a cable row the next row. So 4 stitches, and it helps if I'm doing it flat because it's right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side. It's easier to keep track of. But that is a quick way of how to check what I'm doing in terms of the cables. And so one time when I cable, I do this purl stitch detail, and then the next time I don't. So that's kind of where I am now. I could always count the stitches here on the ladder stitch, but I find that looking at the cables like this is like a super handy way, and something that people don't talk about enough, but like that's the easiest way and quickest way I know to count my cables. And you can do that with a single like 2x2 cable, 1x1 cable. The part in between the two 2x2 cables for me is the easiest way to see it, but you do you. Anyway, so I just wanted to share that as like a tip for counting cables, especially when you have like 12,000 of them like this, then you can do that. That was a lot. Let's go on to the next one. We're back. I had to go downstairs really quick and grab a sweater. But this is regarding my Metaphysics sweater. So my Metaphysics sweater is this. It's a design that I made on myself. It is all over intarsia. It's a drop shoulder with an exaggerated drop shoulder. You can tell here that it kind of goes out. I put this out for testing, and I was expecting to get no responses, but really, you guys came through in a big way. I had one size where it was like 13 people who wanted to test it, which was crazy, and I thought that I would have to keep advertising, but it filled up. So that's great, and thank you all. Special thanks to, is it Jeffrey from Losing My Knit? Go check out his YouTube channel. He really like posted something and it went off. I don't know how he has that influence, but thank you very much. And then also Size Inclusive Collective blasted this test and really made it so I had a bunch of people apply, and that is great. Am I ever going to do a enigmatic, or am I ever going to do a launch with my enigmatic and my a test at the same day ever again? The answer is no. It was a lot of admin. It stressed me out. I'm not doing it. Maybe like at least stagger a week or something. So no more launches and test calls at the same time. But this is the sweater. This one was knit in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colors Rust and Coal. And I'm really happy with this. This is a size 3. Now, this is knit in pieces. You could do it with the intarsia. You could do it without the intarsia. I love the intarsia pattern, so I went for it. But I also wanted, because I think that the fit of this sweater is a really good boyfriend sweater, that I wanted to make another version. So this is the size 3 with like 6-ish inches of positive ease for me. And I wanted to make this a mega pattern and do another version that's bottom up in the round, and then the sleeves are knit top down. So the math isn't really any different. So that's really what gets me. And I could have 2 patterns out of it and have 2 completely different looks. So I will be doing another test for the in the round version at one point. When I get to it, we'll see. Anyway, so this is size 3, as I said, and I am essentially testing this with the pattern I wrote to make a size 4 in the round version. Now, what the deal with Knitting for Olive is if you take 2 strands of their merino, you get 1 strand of heavy merino. And I'm taking their word for it, so I didn't gauge watch, but yes-ish, it works. This is Thundercloud, this is Liquorice, and these 2 are making a beautiful marl for me. I may have not bought enough yarn. I have 5 balls of each, and I think that I may or may not lose yarn chicken on this. I thought that would be enough, but according to my calculations, I think that it's going to be close, because that one used, for me, like 540 meters of yarn, something like that, and this is like 550 or something is what I have. So it's whatever. But this is also a split for sleeve thing that I did this weekend. I'm knitting this a little bit more to Mr. Does Knitting specifications, but then I'm going to steal it. So this is the Marl bottom up in the round version. It's essentially the same pattern in a slightly different order. I did a provisional cast on for the Italian Italian cast on. And what I mean by that is I cast on with some scrap yarn, and I did a like a crochet cast on. You can do whatever type of cast on you want, but I like the crochet one because you can pick it out easier. Like, you don't have to pick it out. You can just like rip and it comes out. And so I cast on half the number of stitches I needed plus 1. And then I did a different type of setup where instead of just the regular Italian Italian tubular cast on, I did the first row is knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over. And then in the yarn overs on the row back, you knit, and then you slip with yarn in front for the next stitch, and then you knit, slip one with yarn in front. You do that row, you do it back one more time on the wrong side row, and then you can start your ribbing. And it makes a beautiful, cute little like Italian bind off, and then you don't have to worry about a lot of times with Italian bind offs, I lose count or the stitches get twisted on the thing, and it's not as easy. And I mean, that's the type of cast on that I really, really like. So I want to incorporate it into all my sweaters. It takes a lot more time to do it this way. I don't care. It's fine. So that's what I did for the cast on. And then I just knit up until I needed to split for front and back yoke. And that's what I'm doing now, and I'm doing the increases. So like I said, this is a size bigger than the one that I knit before. So I really have to see my instructions and see, A, do they make sense? And then B, is it the fit that I have calculated it out for? I've only knit my Troy Boy sample twice in 2 different sizes. I haven't done it with other things. So I'm very curious about this. Should be fine. I'm not so worried. But yeah, so it's good. So I'm knitting with the testers kind of for this. And I mean, it's just a plain stockinette sweater. It's in this Marl. It's not really much to write home about, aside from the fact that I think that this is a really good boyfriend sweater in terms of shaping. I think that you get like 10 plus inches of positive ease on this, and I think it's going to be like super cozy, comfy. It's not the recommended ease, but like, I think that that's going to be nice. And so I'll have these 2 versions for the pattern pictures. I'll probably have a test call for this, have them come out at the same time, and call it a day. So yeah, there's not much to say about this. I think I'm also, as like the Guernsey, right about to split for the collar, and I need to do a little prep for that, but this time I'm following a pattern, which I have not done for a while because I don't know, not so interested in following patterns. But yeah, there's a little bit of thinking with this, but once I get there, it should be all right, and I just have to do my little diagram and do that. So I will keep you updated on this. This will probably be the first one to be finished because the Guernsey's going to take a while. My next project's going to take a while. I find I can like go through stockinette super fast. If I was still unemployed, I was going to see if I could knit this in a week. I'm not unemployed, so it's taking however long it takes, but it shouldn't take a tremendous amount of time. Possibly this will be done by next episode. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens with this. This is not on like a really big timeline, but that's what's happening with that. So that is my Metaphysics Marl. And I've dropped some yarn. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. On to the next one. The next one's in this big box. I will try to go through this quickly. I'm going to make a separate project video on this, but I know not everybody watches those, so I'm in a good spot to film, so I wanted to film for this. But this is my Prada sweater. I've been talking about making this Prada sweater for a while, like a year and a half, and it's been on my to-do list for like multiple years. And I said, in my Make 9, I'm going to do this, and we're doing it. So let's get into it. Abbreviated version is, I saw the sweater hopefully here. And then there were some really good pictures on Pinterest, which had, like, I could see the stitch counts and stuff. It looked like it was a worsted weight sweater. I could, knowing my gauge with worsted weight, I could figure out how wide it is, and then like translate that to my gauge and all of that stuff and chart it out and all that stuff. So it's worsted weight. I knew that I had to do this in DK weight because of the yarn, which we will go over. And I knew that how to convert it, right? So I converted it. I picked out some yarn and I made a chart. I did a little swatch for it. Where's this swatch? Swatch is buried, but I did a swatch for it. Yeah. With some of the yarn that I had. And I liked the proportions, and we went from there. Right, so this is the swatch. I use Intarsia, so this is knit flat. Knowing my gauge and the proportions and stuff like that, I came up with 100, I don't know how many stitches I cast on. 80 something maybe? It was 13 times 8, whatever that is. That's how many stitches I cast on. And it gave me these sections evenly for 8 times. And that was roughly a 42-inch width, no, a 21-inch width, which gave me a 42-inch circumference, which is a comfortable size for me in terms of a garment. So the math worked out. I liked the proportions. Did a whole chart using the yarn combination that I do. I will eventually release the chart on Ravelry for free. It's a big old chart. I'm going to show you half of the chart right now, because that's all that I've been doing, and then we can get into it. But first, let's get into the colors. Oh, by the way, I haven't really done the math on this. I just figured out how much to cast on. I haven't figured out the shaping, whatever. I'm just kind of knitting until I have 12.5 inches, and then I don't know, then I'll pick it up again. But without further ado, I had an appointment at Stephen and Penelope to pick out some colors, because I knew that the West Wool range had a lot of colors that went together, and I wanted to change the colorways from the original to be like blue, greeny, purple. I specifically wanted the light purple to be the white accent, and then the red accent to be this dark purple, and then it was like bluey green is kind of like my vibe and what I want. So I went for that. And these are the colors. This is Dijon. I have Brackish. This is Fandango. This is Unicorn. We have Royal. I have Pebble in the heathered Pebble way. I guess the grays come in heathered and non-heathered. This is the heathered. I have Aquamarine. This is Grass Green. This is Avocado. This is Green Olive. Can you see that? I have Blue Spruce. There are 15 colors. Hold on with me here. This is French Gray in their heathered colorway. Have Glass, Midnight, which is a very dark blue. It is not black. And Pickle Juice, which is my last one. So I'm using 15 colors of West Wool Tandem to be transparent. Most of these were given to me, and the ones that were not, I bought with a gift certificate. So am I paying for this project? No. Thank you very much to West Wool and Stephen and Penelope. So I'm using these 15 colors to make a sweater. And let's see what I've done. So far, I have done one repeat, and it looks like this. Very exciting stuff. I was considering maybe changing this color out, maybe, but then when you put this color together with the other color that it's going to be, I don't know. So anyway, this is what I've done, and I'm enjoying the color palette so far. When I did the chart, I didn't have the exact colors for the chart that I made, and I just sort of like made it up in a way that was close. This is getting to be the proportions of the other one, which I really enjoy. And then, yeah, I've used every color once. And the next portion of this chart will be this, which is not great. It will be looking like this on the upper half. So it will be mirrored and rotated. And this is what I have so far. It's a lot of fun. I do not use this much color when I knit, and this is really just like an epic knit for me. I'm putting this in with the Sibling Energy bucket list call, and then I'm just gonna make it. It's part of my Make 9, all of this sort of thing. So like I said, I'm using Intarsia. So basically what you do is you knit along, and then you switch colors, you knit along and switch colors. The back is a bit of a mess. I've been using some yarn management. I had to clip most of the strings at the current moment because the next row I have to change a lot. But you can see here, like the back, the color changes. You have to put one yarn over the next in order to make it stick and have no holes. And then there's just a lot of ends. A lot of ends. Some of these are live, some of these are not. I've been trying to keep good track of it. I would recommend weaving in ends as you go, but I'm not at a point where I'm doing that quite yet. I did do a provisional cast on, so like I said, with the Italian cast on, to do a provisional one, this one I did in a contrast color that I had laying around. This is also the crochet version. In this case, I did one for each stitch, because I didn't need to do ribbing. I needed to put this on hold. And why I did that is because I don't know what color I want the ribbing to be with the cuffs and the hem. So I figured what I'll do is I'll knit the back piece, figure out what color looks best, like literally lay this out and put the balls of yarn on top of it and see what it needs. I'm hoping it will be a blue. I think I want to bring the blue tones out a little bit, but we'll see. And then I'll undo the provisional cast on, put that on my needles, and then knit 2.5 inches of 1x1 ribbing so it looks similar to the final one, and I will do that. And then even though I know the color for the ribbing for after I do the back, I'll still do the provisional cast on for the front so I can measure and stuff. And then I'll pick up and do the ribbing down. And that will make it so the ribbing, at least on the bottom, is going in the same direction and it will have the same rhythm, as opposed to if you do like one up and one down, it's gonna be a bit whatever. So I did that just as a little, like, I don't know what the colors are gonna do, how they're gonna look when they're all knit up. So now I do. I quite like this. I'm not ripping anything out. I'm not going to duplicate stitch this, even though, I don't know. But yeah, so this is it. And this is very exciting. You'll get to see a little bit more next time, but that's where I am with that. And I just encourage more people to do Intarsia. It goes slower. Look, it's stockinette, but it goes slower because you have to do some yarn management constantly. And I don't mind. I use these bobbins for the most part. So like these little triangles and stuff here, I don't, because it's not a lot of yarn, so I just ripped off like an arm's length and then left the tail. But for like bigger swaths like this blue, I put everything on a bobbin. I particularly like these bobbins. Freudian slip. So I like these bobbins because the way that it hooks is a little bit more sturdy. If you use like a regular embroidery floss bobbin, they just like fall off and it doesn't really do much. So this has like a good area for yarn and it stays. So that's quite nice. And yeah, I'm enjoying this. This will take a while, and so will my Guernsey. So those are the 3 projects that I have for you today. I don't know when I'm coming back next, because honestly, these are my only 3 whips. And I would need to finish at least one of these and start again on another. And I'm not really quite sure that I would. Otherwise, next episode's going to be me talking about the same 3 things over again, just like further along. So I don't know how interesting that is. So I don't know when I'll be back. But I will be back when I have something to say, something I want to share with you. And we'll go from there. You can check on Instagram. I'm going to at least publish a reel on this Prada sweater every Sunday is the goal. So if you want to follow me and see some progress on this, please look over there. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. Like, subscribe, be kind to yourself, be kind to everybody else. Don't be a dick. And yeah, I'll catch you again later. Bye.